You guys love posting comments, some of them good, some of them bad, and in this video we will be covering a couple of them where we will give our opinions on them.
I told Thomas that this video was a bad idea to make, but he really insisted, so we will be going through your comments today and just reacting on them basically, because my god, some of you guys, this is like some brain dead takes in here. Some are also like legitimate comments of things that
some good comments.
Yeah, that or also things like, you know, we should address, but we can't make like full-on videos about. Or it's like a comment that I like always respond to, but it's like the same question 500 times. So we'll be going through them here. Thomas compiled a list. I have no idea what these are.
I promise I won't call you bad names, because Marnix told me I'm not allowed to. So let's start with the first one.
Okay.
And that is, the sooner you realize Unity is dying, the better it is for you and your studio.
Yeah, so this is a comment, we got this comment a lot.
Yeah, I think it's basically from the game
not even
engine tier list.
No, also the ones about Unity's pricing changes. Okay. That was like easy one where we got that one. But even like random devlogs, we sometimes get these comments of like, oh my god, you guys, how could you... No, there was one like, how could you put the trust or like the future of your company in the hands of Unity or whatever? And it's a fair point. Why are we using Unity? And the answer to that is still very easy. It's because that's what we're used to and that's what we know. And that's also the answer I always give. We do not have the runway right now to switch to another engine, because that is like multiple months that we would lose just figuring out how does Godot work. Yeah. How does because we would realistically go for Godot or Unreal.
Probably Godot then.
Yeah.
Because with Unreal, I mean, you can say whatever you want about Unity. With Unreal, it's just another. Like,
yeah, if your argument is like, oh, like
a company can screw you over.
Yeah, then you have to go for Godot basically.
We have experience with Unity. Also, we have a lot of tooling we made for Unity, things we reuse between projects. We need to redo all of that. I mean, sure, in Godot you can choose your language, so we could keep C# and so on. But the concepts of Godot...
Yeah, like to use Godot well, you need to switch to Godot script basically.
Also, a lot of people really underestimate the ease of use of Unity, I feel, for exporting to multiple platforms. I know that's what other engines are also working for. I don't know at which stage Godot is yet, like how far they are with this, but...
They're getting better at it, but...
Yeah, I think I once read a comment, someone saying the Unity game engine is S tier, the company between, behind it is like F tier. And
I think that's the most accurate, almost you can go.
Yeah.
If you are starting game development, don't go with Unity, I think.
Yeah, I think Godot is the way to go.
We started with Unity before Godot really like existed. Or like, you know, Godot version 3, I wouldn't really call it much of an engine. Like Godot 4 or like 4.2 are the latest ones. You can do a lot with those already. But the older versions, not as much.
Yeah, and when I started like 10 years ago by now, Unity was the way to go.
Yeah, you learned from Brackeys as well. So now Brackeys is up with Godot, so...
Yeah, so my master is once again showing me the way.
No better time to switch, not switch, but no better time to start going for Godot right now, but...
Is our next game going to use Godot?
It depends on how much sales we're gonna get and how much run. If we have like Slay the Spire money, that's what they did, right? Slay the Spire was like, okay, screw Unity, we're going to fully redo Slay the Spire 2 in Godot because they have that run. They can be like, sure, what's another 6 to 9 months of development time for us? Like easy peasy. We can sustain ourselves that long. We cannot. So because of that, it just doesn't make sense to do that, really.
Right, let's move on to the next one. And that is, this guy does not make games, he makes clickbait YouTube videos. This is aimed at you, I feel.
Really? So, this guy does not make games. You're not completely wrong. I have to say that. This guy makes clickbait YouTube videos. I personally disagree with that. I think, to a fault, our videos are not clickbaity enough. Like, look at the titles and the thumbnails of our videos. They are not meant to be clickbaitable. I have people who are like, oh my god, your thumbnails suck, and like could have gotten so much reach, and it's like, I can never win. Either I make them clickbaity, or I make them very realistic, or like give them an accurate view, and regardless, someone will get offended, whatever. This guy does not make games. I think this is an important one where, yeah, I don't. I help in a studio that makes games, but I am not a solo game developer. And I think that's also what sets us a little bit apart, because a solo game developer only has so much time in a week to work on their game and make videos and whatever, that they can often only do like one video a month or whatever. And then usually, what is the most return on investment video for them? Another devlog. And then we have yet another Zelda-like devlog or whatever. The benefit is we're 4 people. And even if I only make videos, that's still only 25% of our studio really that is focused on making videos. And I do more than making these videos, by the way. I still am involved with the entire development process. I'm still the guy who manages our studio's finances. I like to see myself closer to a producer than like a game developer, just for the like overarching vision. And because of that overarching vision, I think there's more value that I can make from these videos than from these games. And also, yeah, making games is hard as fuck, and making money from games is even harder. We're not surviving. We wouldn't have been here anymore if all we had was Forge Industries with its pitiful $10,000 in revenue. So yeah, I make these videos because these videos are what keeps us going, so you get more videos that are engaging.
Yeah, also, just to set the record straight, he does more than just make videos. He does sound. For Forge Industries, he did everything in art. Like, he is involved with making games just because he doesn't write a lot of code. I remember you writing like a couple of lines of code for Forge Industries.
I wrote like 10 lines of code.
So he also did that. He's working on game mechanics. I think it's, Shoop
Fighting for
9274. I think your take is very shit.
We're not tier listing them.
I'm not tier listing them. I'm just saying it's a shit take. Next one is also pretty depressing. I don't know why I put them in this order, but guys, don't stupidly believe these game dev gurus. Why are they taking money for their advice? Because they make money on selling their advice and not their game. Authority is not everything. Only because someone charges you a lot of money for 1 hour call does not mean you actually gain any valuable insights.
So
before we do that,
do you want to plug?
Patreon, YouTube, what else do we have? Basically what I'm trying to say is Forge Industry is still the biggest income source we had in our studio, period.
I'll put up a graph of our overall earnings. But
like, Forge Industry is the biggest. So if you're saying we make money from the rest and not from the game, wrong statement.
Okay, but this, once again, here we go again with the thing of, the comment that he talks about is, if you didn't notice, because this is like, you perfectly plug this. I cannot not plug this. There's a link down below. If you are like, hey, these guys, they're not clickbaity. They're very open. That's our core principle. And you're like, hey, I just need an extra opinion on my game. Is this going to pass like yes or no? I'm not gonna make your game successful, but there's a link where you can book like a one-off call for 59 euros, where I will sit down and like, whether you have like early stage game design documents that you're like, I don't know which one is like the most market potential, or you are like, hey, I don't know if this game is still going in the right direction. It can still be great to just get someone who, hate it or love it, I still probably have more experience than most of our audience. I have been able to get into contact with people like publishers, with those interviews that you saw me do a while back, with actual game studios, with marketing people. I've been able to sit down with Crisostomo. Have we become marketing experts? No. But do you know how much a Crisostomo or a Derek Lieu charges? They charge like 10 times what we charge. There is still a big difference there as well. You can see some of their rates publicly as well. Like Rami Ismail from Vlambeer, his indie consulting is like 250 euros. And the problem is also, I understand you. Whereas if you go to Rami Ismail and you're like, I don't know what to do with my game, he's gonna be like, oh, spend 10K on an ad campaign or whatever. Like, he's going to tell you things that probably aren't as realistic to you, whereas I'm still closer to where you are. And that is why we offer that coaching, because those coachings, they do give us a lot of that freedom right now to keep making these videos, because views have been declining, boys, and maybe we fell off, maybe we just made 2 niche videos, whatever. We'll get back there, but things like those coaching calls give us that freedom to go and extend our runway basically before we crash and burn and this channel has to shut down, which I don't want to, but we also have to think at the end of the day of how do we sustain this. Anyways, link down below if you want to do that. Let's move on to the next one.
All right, next one is dudes. Where do you put games like Cat Quest? It is RPG, it is not Elden Ring or Witcher 3, and it still nails mechanics, and I think it enjoys popularity. So RPG can be A tier.
So I have no clue what Cat Quest is, I mean, so you go ahead.
I don't know either, but it's, from what I understand, it's basically a simple RPG. Like RPG mechanics, but not like the open world RPG where we rated it, basically. You can always put any genre in S or F tier.
Yeah, it also depends on who you are, on what your skills are, probably.
And the scope. Like, we saw RPGs as open world RPGs because we mentioned things like, for example, like he mentions here, Elden Ring or Witcher 3. But of course, if you make a small JRPG with pixel art graphics.
I feel like small and JRPG are two words that do not fit together.
If you make Undertale, it's an RPG, and that's not too big of a scope in my opinion.
Okay.
So,
how long did Toby Fox develop it? Do you know?
I don't. I
feel like
let's skip to the next question. But like for example, of course, you can always make it work. Useful info. A positive comment. Do you have any more game ideas you might make devlogs on eventually? Marnix, do we have any devlogs coming up?
No, we stopped game development. We're just purely selling courses now. By the way, the link down below for like ultimate game dev course. This is a joke. No, this I feel like this was too easy once again for me to plug. So we've been working on Guild Architect for 4+ months at this point. And it's been a bit of a weird one because I've been showing footage of Guild Architect like random points in this video. And we've done one playtest, but that was only for our true OGs who were in our Discord server, which you should join if you aren't in our Discord server yet, because then you get like all of the cool scoops, or when we do live streams, you can submit your games. But it is a bit weird how we haven't made that many devlogs recently, whereas the YouTuber meta as a game dev is like, you make the devlogs, right? I think I have 2 reasons for that. The first one is, I hate making devlogs. They are so exhausting for me to do. Like, that's the thing, if you are that solo developer who has to make 1 video a month, it has to be a banger. And you have to spend a lot of time in like the hyper edited, but that is not content I like to watch. The problem is, I know some of our audience is like, oh, just make a video where you walk through Guild Architect and like low editing. Nobody gets, like, this shit doesn't get views. Like, nobody cares about it. And at that point, okay, I also don't want to do that. So right now we are planning our like first devlog for Guild Architect, but I have been postponing it for like 6 weeks at this point because I just don't want to do it, because I hate the like hyper edited style. But I do understand that, hey, if you're a game dev YouTuber, you do have to make them. So right now we're starting to plan, like merge it together with like our store page launch, with a press release launch and whatever. It's coming in the coming weeks, probably, where we're going to make a dedicated video just talking about Guild Architect. What is it about? It's a guild management game where you create like quests and whatever. It's a really cool concept. The visuals are much better this time than Forge Industry. Just wait a bit longer until we're gonna make like a dedicated video about it.
All right, next up. Ah yes, you can't make good games with Gamemaker Studios. I mean, only games that someone heard of. Wait, this is a shit sentence. I mean, only game that someone heard about that was made here, there was this little game called Undertale.
Once again, our tier lists are like, people hate us for our tier lists. Because like, first of all, Construct 3, I'm sorry, I still don't love you. But especially like maybe...
Exception is not the rule, let's just say it, guys.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like Gamemaker Studio, I don't know what tier we gave Gamemaker Studio. Maybe we could have given it like a tier higher, but they were correct. One of the comments we did was our Gamemaker Studio one was a bit unfair because it was like the old version. Also, our tier list for Gamemaker, for the engines, was before Gamemaker went free.
Yeah, but that also influences our opinion, huh?
Yeah.
Just think about it.
But yeah, the thing is, there are always some games that are like made with a specific engine that are mega successes. But at that point, then why are you not using a custom engine? Because, you know, Banished, for example, custom engine. Frostpunk, custom engine. Why are you not making a custom engine? Then you have Ultimate Performance. So many great games are made in custom engines. AAA studios use custom engines. There are plenty of cases for every single engine that are like 1 or 2 or 3 games that are like super popular. Also, Godot back then wasn't as evolved. Like there was only one good like shooter, like first-person shooter, which was Cruelty Squad. Things expand, but in general, like having like 1 or 2 big games with an engine, whereas there are so many games made in Gamemaker Studio. And I know games like Nuclear Throne are made in Gamemaker Studio as well. They would not sell anymore in today's economy. Nuclear Throne was made like 10 years ago when a 2D top-down shooter was much easier to sell than nowadays.
Yeah, also, once again, even...
Another great example of this, I'm sorry I'm gonna interrupt you, Phaser. We tier listed Phaser, right? Which was... Oh, small game made with it called Vampire Survivors. My checkmate to you guys is the guy actually was like, yeah, Phaser kind of a shit engine, I'm gonna rewrite it in Unity. So
yeah, that's what I wanted to say, that in general, the engines we rated higher on the list were either better pricing wise, because like you said, Gamemaker Studio was, I think, a subscription by then.
Or a one-time payment. Construct 3 is a subscription.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, sucks. Also, the higher rated engines are often just more flexible. Deal with it. Of course you can make good games in it, but Unreal can do 2D, 3D, whatever you want. Every genre you can think of, Unreal can handle it. Unity, same. Godot, getting at the same level. kind of same. It's not completely there yet probably, but fine. But do you think, for example, the next Call of Duty could run properly in Gamemaker Studio? No. Are you going to make the next Call of Duty? No. So Gamemaker Studio might be a good fit for you. I mean, that does mean that if there are more options that are offered by, for example, Unreal, that Unreal is superior.
He said it.
I mean,
cancel him, not me.
Unreal was the only engine I think we put in S tier.
Yeah,
right?
Unreal was the S tier. At one point, we're gonna make a tier list where we tier list our previous tier list, and we'll do like full like re-tier listing of our tier list. Stay tuned for that. It'll come out in like a month or so.
We could probably like do our engine tier list again.
No, just like
in
make
2024.
it. Oh yeah, like put 2024 behind it. Oh,
yeah.
Wow, that's genius. But that's so scummy.
But I mean, don't you think the people want another fair estimation of Gamemaker Studio now that it's free? The landscape changes. Godot got a lot more powerful.
Yeah, and Unity just shit the bed. Yeah, that's true.
Like
maybe we should do it.
Let us know if we should. All right, next up, Linux is a much easier platform to develop for. Mac support is often left out because it's less than a single % of players. Especially a factory automation game, Linux has been a big miss for you guys, I think. First of all, Proton.
Yeah.
Forge Industry runs perfectly using Proton. Why would we release it specifically for Linux? Also, I don't know the percentages, but I don't think Linux is a lot more...
The Mac.
Yeah, the Mac.
No.
So that also makes you lose a lot of power in your statement, especially because both have like Rosetta. No, Rosetta's for the ARM.
Yeah, ARM.
But Wine and Proton.
Yeah.
We did the Mac release basically because one of us has a Mac, so we could validate it. We don't have a Linux machine, we had to boot up a VM or something. I don't want to deal with that, to be honest. But just run into Proton, it works fine.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, if you're not a Linux developer, you are never getting a good return on investment of porting to another platform. Like if you're porting to Mac, life gets more expensive because first of all, you need a Mac Mini minimum to like compile it, and you need the developer license, which you're never getting it back unless you're like a really big studio and you have like a lot of copies sold, where the amount of Mac copies actually matters. For Linux, it's also just a matter of validating that it's like we only have so much time and budget as a small studio. Would we rather spend time validating like a bunch of different Linux distributions or like random ass hardware with a ThinkPad that has like no display or whatever, and like validate if our game works on that? No, because we can barely get our game working on Windows in the first place. Let's focus on fixing that first.
Yeah, and I remember also at some point we had a Linux version for Forge
Yeah,
Industry.
we can build it, but I don't feel like it's good to just ship something that you can't validate.
True, but we tried validating on Steam Deck. At least I tried, and there are a lot of bugs. For example, the video player and so didn't work, and then, okay, that's our fault because when you look at it, Unity has documentation on what videos are supported on what platforms, but I don't want to deal with that when I can just run into to Proton and it works.
Yeah, we just use the Proton version for Steam Deck, right?
Yeah. And it's like also like we had for our modding support, we had folders. Like you could click on a button, it opened the folder, the file system and so on. It didn't work in Linux out of the box. Why would I try it? I think if you can do it, sure, but I honestly still wouldn't bother.
Yeah, you get some brownie points for it, definitely.
Yeah, but what I do agree with is, for example, Mac is probably also not a great investment, but we still have, one of us is working on a Mac and we have a Mac Mini so we can build it. We have a developer license, so might as well, I guess. Basically, just calculate your return on investment if it's worth it or not. Next up.
Yeah.
I also recommend making tooling for your game, especially if it can be generic. My teammates ran out of Steam, not that kind of Steam, and now the Godot add-on I made for the game has more success than the game itself. So I think he made an asset or something.
Yeah, like internal tooling and then made it public probably. Yeah, I mean, this is an S-tier comment.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
For Unity. Once again, this is one of the reasons why Unity, the engine, I really like, because you have very easy tooling. I know the Godot engine is basically like a tool on its own. It's very extensible. I know some guy's gonna write a whole paragraph about how I'm dumb and like don't know enough about it. I know Godot is also very extensible, but there's just not this like long of a marketplace history yet. Making tooling,
the amount of content out there for Unity is,
yeah.
Also, you don't have a username. Your username is just a dot, but hey, dot, you have a good comment.
Yeah,
you should preach.
Make tooling, like, what is it? Like, once you have to do something 3 times,
make a tool.
Make a tool for it, yeah.
A simple example is for Guild Architect. I was making our tavern mechanic and we had like recipes. And I was too lazy to just create like 80 scriptable objects by hand. So I made like a tool that just looks at an item and generates all the scriptable objects, assigns the translations, generates the keys for the translations, assigns everything that it could already by immediately, and I press like one button and I'm done. And I could have done it by hand, but now if we want to create more things, we just add it to the list, press one button and it's there.
I will say this take. Just say you don't take visual novels seriously. Like, come on. You.
What is it to me?
Yeah, because
was I the one or was
yeah,
you the
no,
one?
I was like trying to like pull it back up, but you were like visual novels dumb. Don't do it. Horrible developers make visual novels. I was like trying to pull it back up. I think you really did them dirty.
I mean, okay.
Because the only visual novel you know as well is the Hatoful Boyfriend, which is
not
a
true.
pigeon dating
That's
one.
not true. There's this one, Slay the Princess.
Wow, you know a modern game?
Yeah.
Are you a real gamer?
Is it modern?
Yeah, it's. I don't know if it's
Couple of
released
years
yet.
old?
What are you talking about?
Slay the Princess.
Yeah, like the one.
The horror kind of one.
It's
Yeah.
literally like a few months ago. I don't
Really?
even know if it's out yet. It may still be. It was a marketing
But I saw it like
banger.
Yeah, but I saw like a YouTuber play it. Anyway, in general,
He knows one other visual novel.
shut up. In general, I don't think I will change my stance. Okay,
Defend yourself.
hear me out. The biggest thing with a visual novel is your story. And I think you also went on record multiple times saying that people, when you're a small indie game and people are just discovering you, they don't buy you for the story.
When did I say this? I feel like I never said this.
You have like 180 videos. In one, you would have said this. But no, but like for real, you make a store pitch. How will you convince someone that you're?
I think a visual novel you don't sell for the story or like market for the story, you market through the art. If you are a shit artist and you're a great narrative writer, visual novels are gonna be hard. If you're a great artist and a mediocre story writer, you'll probably be all right. Like visual novels, the advantage is they're very easy to make.
Yeah, there are literally engines for it. You don't have to write a single line of code.
Yeah.
I mean, if you call Marnix a fake dev, no, I'm not going to make this statement. Never mind.
I do take them seriously. They are actual big games. There's still a lot of successful games.
I agree. I just don't think
I
they
want
are
to make a
S-tier or
visual
something.
novel. Yeah, of course they're not S tier, but
I don't know what we rank them. I think they're good. I mean, not good maybe. They're fine. You can make them work, definitely. I mean, I know a big game, Slay the Princess. It looks very cool. I was even doubting if I wanted to play it.
But I feel like, yeah, Slay the Princess also once again their art style.
Yeah,
Very unique with it. And like the story as well. And like the plot, like their hook was really good for Slay the Princess.
Yep. Definitely you can make it work. I just think there are other genres that do it better, easier, whatever you want to call it, to make it a success.
I think once again, that's a bad statement though, because that is assuming that they're like programmers or whatever.
That's also true, but you have a lot more competition. Like there are so many visual novels releasing because you can just shit them out.
There's so many Now the thing is also, this is a very fun side tangent. Visual novels. If you go to the Steam visual novel tag, it depends on who you are as an artist. If you're a 2D artist versus a 3D artist, if you look at like the top visual novels on Steam, 90% of them are like the very super high realistic 3D porn visual novels. Like when we think about visual novels, I think that was another thing that we did dirty there, is when we think of visual novels, we think of like, you know, the Japanese or like the Chinese style, like 2D drawings with like big stories. No, the money with the visual novels is with the big boobed girls that are like 3D, hyper realistic, ultra large cock. That is the stuff that makes the money, unfortunately.
I mean, then they are S tier, because adult-only games sell.
Yeah, so
if you want money in the game industry, you just have to make adult-only games.
So don't sleep on visual novels if you're purely like, I have no morals and I want to make money.
I mean, I do take them seriously. I don't know what we rated them. Maybe I did them dirty.
We didn't think about, I know in the tier list we did not think about the 18 plus aspect.
I don't feel like this guy is talking about 18 plus. He has like a cute kitten as his profile picture.
Well,
he's like a 12-year-old boy. He was like, I want to become a gamer. You're like 18 plus.
well, we'll see about it.
Next comment is by The Visual Digital Arts, and he says, boys watch Brackeys, but real men watch Bite Me Games.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Next one.
Yeah, I don't know what we have to add to that one. I just find it funny.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you. Also, Brackeys is awesome. He's my game dev daddy.
Don't call him daddy, please.
We're on the block list of another YouTuber.
Never collabing with Brackeys. I'm sorry.
Next up is someone that says, hey, please help. I followed the early page advice that we keep on giving. Do you think it will be stained because his game has basically been on for almost a year with only one screenshot?
One screenshot? That's impossible.
No, wait, I thought you said it. With bad images and descriptions. Enlighten us.
Are you talking to me? Okay, so
who else are you talking to?
I don't know, the audience.
Enlighten us. We'll wait.
This is one where I do have a lot of people who are like, oh, and I have actually changed my opinion on this as well, where in our video of like getting started.
So you're saying you gave bad advice?
Yeah,
How can the viewers trust you now?
Yeah, I will. Here, take my hand.
Not a game dev guru.
I'm sorry. What is this? So in our 2024 getting started with game dev video, I'm like, get that Steam page up as fast as possible. Now, I have evolved as a game developer, and especially in recent months, I've been able to talk to a lot of publishers, not to pitch our own games, but just to learn so I can make content for you guys about how do you approach game dev. And a big thing that I've learned when talking to press, when talking to like actual larger studios, is the advice I gave of just get something out there as fast as possible is pretty decent, but you always need a trailer. That's the big first thing that I've learned, and that's why also Guild Architect currently doesn't have a Steam page yet, is because I'm still working on the trailer, because Thomas right now is still implementing some of the mechanics that we want to show.
Really?
Yeah.
What do we want to show?
The tavern and whatever.
Oh, it's done. What are you waiting for?
Okay, well, I'll
trailer, live now.
I'll give you a list of some other stuff. I think that is one thing, but purely looking at this comment of, hey, I have my Steam page up for very long, but it's grown a bit stale, and you know, the question is also, are you still getting wishlists, yes or no? Because if you are still getting wishlists, there is this article for, I think Cosmo Tier is the game. Chris Zukowski read a whole thing about it where he dove into the data. There is no big difference in like, because their store page was up 4 or 5 years before launch. Their wishlist conversion for people who wishlisted 4 years ago versus like 6 months ago was pretty similar. There was a higher conversion for like less than 6 months because then it was more fresh in their mind. But those longer terms generally don't matter as much. Now, I think if you are in this situation like he is, the bigger problem is just make a game that like have those screenshots, update them. That is the big problem as well with like the trailers, is the moment you take a screenshot and put it on the Steam page, or the moment you make that trailer, the next day it's already outdated. And you look back at it, but it's just, you need to set aside. We have this problem with Forge Industry as well, where some of the screenshots are outdated. You just need to be like, okay, I need to set apart like 30 minutes to just take some more stamp screenshots and upload them. Do keep it updated, like don't make a shitty store page and then just ignore it and be like, oh yeah, they'll all convert, right? Do still give it your best effort, but know that it doesn't matter how long the store page is up in total. The longer the better at the end of the day still.
Yeah, the biggest gripe I have with the advice we've given in the past, where you should do it as early, I think you can still do it, but the condition is indeed that you keep updating it. With the comment that the guy left, it says, I basically didn't have time to work on it for a year, then it's bad advice, because if nothing is happening, why would someone wishlist you? You start out looking bad, but even if you evolve and it becomes better, I mean, you're not doing that part, so then it's not a good idea.
I think also one more thing, why did I give that advice of get the Steam page up as early as possible, is because it's like getting a gym subscription. It's like your first monetary commit. And it's also something that you can point at the world and be like, I have a Steam page already.
Yeah.
Whether like you have released or not, but that is like a first checkpoint that is also important for you and your motivation, because if it's just eternally gonna be just stuck in a folder on your computer,
yeah,
and you're not sharing it with the world through that Steam page, it is much harder to commit on it and keep going at it. Like throwing down that $100 in the store credit is going to make you reconsider, I'll just go for another project now because I suddenly have this really cool idea. It's still gonna happen, but it's going to be less.
Right, next up, why would you drop Rewired in favor of Unity's input though? It's easy to set up, convenient to use, and has stuff like rebinding out of the box. I don't know if Demon knows, but we don't mean original legacy Unity input. We meant the input system, the new one.
We made a tutorial about it.
Yeah, you know, it's actually performed decently. Yeah, tutorials are really evergreen. We probably should do that more.
Yeah.
We probably won't though, because we're lazy. Anyway, all of the things you said, the input system also does. It also has rebindable inputs out of the box and so on. So why did we change it? I didn't like the UI generation of the rebinding in Rewired, and it's like paid. Like
it costs money.
Yeah, I had a license. Those guys need to have a license as well because it's an extension asset. Welcome to the lovely world of asset management. We need like 4 licenses because we're 4 people, which is fine, but why would I then buy 3 more licenses when we could just have no license?
Nothing beats $3.99.
If you want to use Rewired, go for it. But Unity's input system, the new one, that is like 6 years old by now, is amazing in my opinion. I don't know what else to tell you. Next up is basically someone saying, consider not quitting your job and make games as bonus income.
S tier take. I feel like this is on our funding tier list, probably a comment.
Good question, I didn't wrote.
I don't think we actually covered, just not quitting your job as one of those things, but I think also the game dev scene has changed a lot in the past 9 months. The hopium in my eyes has left my soul a little bit. You may have noticed that when you go and look at like the old videos where I was still young and innocent and like I could still laugh. I think right now, and I also tell myself this, I don't know if I would quit my job again if I'm at like my position and I knew what I knew last year. I think it's a very rough time right now to fully like dive into game dev, spend your life savings on it or whatever, and then go the Eric Barone route because you probably won't get it. There's this really funny like Reddit post I saw once where it's like, it's basically like going into game dev and wanting to make a full-time career out of it is like being like, hey, I want to become an Olympic level pole vaulter. How do I get started? And how do I want to get like the Olympic medal in 6 months. How do I do this? It may sound dumb, but this is literally like, if you want to be, if you have that, like, I would almost call it a bit of a delusion that you are going to be the next Eric Barone. This is literally how dumb you sound to other game developers.
Why are you pointing to me?
I'm not pointing to you.
I'm not the one who quit my job.
No.
This is how stupid you sound.
Yeah, I'm like trying to become an Olympic pole vaulter, but I can barely even jump. So that's the thing. If you can, don't do it. There was a whole bunch of other stuff that like made me consider quitting as well, but it's not just of the, hey, I needed a change in my life. Let's make video games because this Marnix bro, who's looking very scrumptious, he's like, seems to be doing great. I don't think I'm like selling that vision of I seem to be doing great.
No.
But right now, I think it's better off just to weather the storm, make games as a hobby, and maybe like, especially if it's like your first games, don't go full time to make your first game.
I also think this is an S tier take. 1 year ago when Marnix was considering quitting his job, I literally told him it's stupid. I told William the same. I still think so, but there's one big caveat if this is your approach. Especially if you're a solo developer, you underestimate how much of your energy this will take.
Yeah, also
take it from someone who does a full-time job and bite me as well. And it will take a lot of your energy. You won't have much free time in general. And if you think, oh, but working my game is free time, you will get sick of it.
Yeah.
You will.
But you can sleep at night. That's the one advantage. You do not have existential dread, because that's also a problem. A lot of people, they aren't fully prepared to manage themselves. That's like a big one where not everyone is cut out to like make your own work. And that's also how you get that problem of, okay, my game needs to be perfect, but you have that runway that is just barreling towards you of, I need to make money in 9 months or whatever. You need to go, if you do this, you need long runways if you want to go full time, like multiple years ideally, which in today's economy, not that easy.
Yeah, let's give I want to give an example maybe. For example, Forge Industry sold for like 10,000.
That's gross. So let's say net $6,000.
Yeah, imagine that, okay.
5,000.
Let's be generous and say you can make Forge Industry in 9 months as a solo dev. Okay, it's very generous.
That's very optimistic. So you would have to have previous experience.
Yeah, first of all, you would have to have previous experience, and I'm being very generous now. You have 6,000 over 9 months. You don't earn a lot.
I think another very good example is, shout out to my boy Code Monkey with his Dinky Guardians. He did like a full breakdown where he can crank out code because he's literally Code Monkey.
Yeah.
So he had the technical skill. He knew what he was doing. He has previously released other successful games. And at the end of the day, I think he was still earning like barely minimum wage in like certain countries. The only reason he could do it is because he's in a lower cost of living country as well, like Portugal in his case. If you're in the US, for example, where also healthcare is a thing.
Germany, France, Belgium, you're screwed.
You're screwed, yeah. It's like, then just go the Randy route and like go to Thailand and like go from there. It is a valid approach then maybe, or like you can stretch it out more.
Yeah, you have more runway.
But yeah, but making 5 grand for working 9 months while living in Belgium, for example, it's not it.
No, you cannot even rent a studio.
Yeah, so that is also, once again, why we make these YouTube videos. That's the only reason as well, like, because there was more potential for us than just purely the game. There was also this YouTube channel, which has somewhat like paid off.
Yeah. And that brings us to our last comment, which is a great follow-up, and that is, how do you guys fund yourself?
Okay.
Are you all directors or equivalent in your company foregoing payment for yourselves until the money rolls in?
Yes, that is exactly what we are doing.
Yeah.
So, if you're interested in the full financial breakdowns, we have our Patreon. I have to plug this.
But let's shortly summarize it.
Yeah, certainly, yeah. Basically, I have been getting IOUs from the company for the past like year plus. So at this point, Bite Me Games owes me like 16,000 euros or something. That one day maybe I'll pay out, maybe not, we'll see about that. But I have been doing this purely off my own savings. That's what I mean with that runway. I quit my previous job with planned 1.5 years of runway. And if that runs out, which is gonna be probably end of 2024-ish, and I haven't been able to pay myself by then, maybe it's goodbye Bite Me Games, we have to be serious there. But that is the main way we fund. So our income streams, which once again, full breakdowns on Patreon, Forge Industry sales, which have slowed down a lot. I think right now it's about 500 euros every 3 months that we still get paid out. Most of that was front loaded when we did the first 2-3 months after launch, and then some sales, we made videos about it, go and watch them here. Then YouTube sponsorships, Patreon, my homeboys, I would die for you guys, you know that's like, Patreon helps us a lot. Recently, those one-on-one coachings that I've been talking about have been picking up some steam as well.
And Guild Architect will sell millions in the future.
But hopefully. The thing is, Guild Architect, we will only realistically be getting money from probably in like 2025 after the game has been released, because Steam takes some time between release and actually earning money.
And that wraps it up actually. That was the last comment. Unless you have anything to add, I think it's time to say...
These were all the comments we got on our YouTube channel?
Yeah, all of them.
Wow.
Nobody watches us.
Nobody.
I just compiled a short list of the things that I found funny. There are also a lot of other garbage takes that I didn't want to interact with. Didn't want to give the guys the pleasure of giving them attention.
We get more comments. I read all of your comments. So if you do think that I am a smelly doo-doo and I should like quit being a game dev, I read that. I'll give you a heart.
You're going to have so many comments on this video.
But yeah, that's really all we have to say here. If you're new here, we're game developers, if you may have noticed it, and we just make videos documenting the entire process of making games. If you stuck around till now, what are you waiting for? Go and subscribe. We upload 2 videos every week. You're going to love them. We have some pretty good bangers cooking up still. So really, that's all I had to say. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.